the building. Introducing Miss Patricia Dabrowski, aka Patti Cake, aka Kendall
You're gorgeous. You boss bitch.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I hope to still be working for you, sir.
Your pen game is ridiculous. You have notebooks full of songs, Pete. How badly do you want this?
You don't have a musical bone in your body, and you sure as hell can't sing. What kind of music are we talking about here?
Been rapping.
Rapping.
Rhyming, I'm singing, you know?
Yo, Dumbo! Get out the street.
Who's the kid with the glaucoma?
This is it.
It's the Ritz cracker, a go hot swagger is Viagra. I roll stone through Jersey like Jagger in a Jaguar. Peace for the posse, the beer for the bells. And Jay got the letters of the state where we dwell. Straight out the gates of hell. Every day, we tell the world our mother.
What's your rap singing name? What, you like Zooey Dooey Dumb Drops?
I'm actually going as Killer Pete.
You have more talent and imagination than the rest of this whole town combined.
This is the biggest opportunity of your life.
Keep your head up, killer. It's a cold world out there.
You got this. You're a boss bitch.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Cathy Moriarty, Mamoudou Athie, Siddharth Dhananjay, Geremy Jasper, and Killer P herself, Danielle Macdonald. Guys, congratulations. What an absolutely wonderful, wonderful film. It's incredible. Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll get to the questions. I just wanted to give you that. Danielle, this is your first movie, right? Is this your first movie?
No.
Oh, everyone told me that it was.
Movie.
Yeah, it's my first movie.
It's his
okay.
first movie.
Okay, then leave. No.
Okay,
This
cool.
is
I'll
only
just
for
leave.
first timers. How did you get this part though? It's a breakthrough, runaway, amazing performance. You command this movie.
Thank you. One of our producers saw me in the first film I'd ever done, the actual first film. And then he showed my photo to Geremy, and Geremy...
Love at first sight.
There we go.
And then, you know, didn't matter that she was Australian and never rapped before. She's a brilliant, brilliant actress. And we spent a year and a half, 2 years training.
You spent a year and a half to 2 years training.
Oh,
What did training entail?
Practicing rapping in my closet when no one could hear me and judge me, basically.
Can you freestyle now? Or
Never.
Okay.
Not even a little bit.
I wasn't going to make it.
He writes all of the lyrics, and then I just do them.
Yeah, so Jeremy,
basically.
you wrote and directed the movie as well as wrote the music and the lyrics. How long has this project been sort of bubbling up inside of you?
I think in October it will be 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Where did you initially get the idea from? Was there someone that you saw? Or?
I mean, well, I grew up with a lot of Patricia Dombrowskis. It's like a type of young Jersey woman that I grew up around. Patti could be my sister or my cousin, and so that attitude and bravado and braggadocio, like that Jersey style, to me, and I'm a lifelong hip hop fan. They just connected, and it just made sense to me. It was kind of like my two loves all in one, and then I was able to deal with all my angst from being from New Jersey through this film.
It is a slightly angsty film, but at the same time, it is one of just incredible warmth, you know? And one of the things, I want to get to everybody else as well and ask questions, but one of the things that I was so surprised by, Geremy, is that you really go for lack of a better word, the formula of this kind of movie, and you totally succeed at it and add a lot of freshness, but it takes a lot of courage to sort of take on that formula and really go for it. Can you talk about, not being afraid of it?
Well, I had written about 10 drafts of the screenplay. This is my first film and my first screenplay, and so the early drafts of it, I was trying to deconstruct the genre and trying to really take it apart, but with characters like this that on the surface, or at least in film world, seem almost bigger than life, it became a process of like, well, these are some of the genre's conventions for a reason. Well, now we have this kind of group of eccentric characters. Let's turn that on its ear, so that I think as an audience you're kind of used to seeing this kind of story, but not with these kinds of characters. So it's sort of a spoonful of sugar, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Danielle, what was the hardest part of making this movie for you? The rapping?
There was a lot of hard parts. I know, in a really good way. It was just a really, like, I've been working on this for 3 years now, just over 3 years. So the rapping was really hard. The accent was somewhat hard as well.
You did your
honestly,
own stunts?
I did my own stunts, yeah. Oh yeah, no, I had to walk on a ledge while people grabbed my ankles. It was the scariest thing I've ever done. And I flew. That was really fun for the first 2 hours, and then it was really painful after like 8.
Let's go back to what you just said about working on this film for 3 years and talk about the Sundance premiere, where you guys got a standing ovation, full-blown breakout hit of the Sundance Film Festival. What did that feel like after having worked on the film for 3 years?
I
know this isn't your first film, so maybe you're jaded about it, but...
I'm so jaded at this point. No, I mean, there's so much relief. I was terrified. I think we were all watching the film like, oh God. None of them had seen the movie. I had seen the movie, and Bridget had seen the movie, and obviously Geremy a million times, but no one else had, and so it was just that, are people gonna hate it? Are they gonna boo? Hopefully they don't boo. Will they clap? You just like kind of go through your head, and then when they clapped, it was like, phew. Honestly, like that was what went through my head. It was just a lot of relief, and it was out there, and then it was just really fun, like celebrating with these guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kathy, a lot of people know you from, I think, one of your first movies, which is Raging Bull. Just a classic, incredible film, and you've been in a number of films since then. What was it about Geremy that made you wanna work with him?
I love my Geremy. I just love him. I actually was the only one who had the privilege of working with him beforehand. He had done his first short called Outlaws with David Beckham and Harvey Keitel and Catherine Waterston and me. And so we went to Mexico, and I hadn't met him yet, so I kind of went and, a little bit stalked him and watched his little style. So he was directing the circus, and I mean a full-blown Mexican circus. I've never seen anything like it. And visually, just watching what he was doing and what he had created, I was like, wow, amazing. And then when I got to do my scenes with him, he just, his writing is so pristine that his character development, it's there for you. He does all the work for you. And he gives you the opportunity to bring it to life. And it's just an amazing experience.
What was it about Grandma that you really wanted to bring to life?
To me, Nana's, I don't know, she's a bit of like the glue, kind of trying to hold the family together. And I love the fact when I read it, when he sent me the script, and he called us, what'd you think? And, did you like it? I was like, no. It's like, I loved it. I loved it. I loved Nana. I loved her strength. I love the fact that really, if you watching the film, everybody has felt some loss. Bastard's lost his mother. You were losing your friend, and I lost my husband. Everybody has some sense of loss, which makes you sometimes either give up or fight so much harder. And even though I don't have any scenes with Bridget Everett, who's just a powerhouse and amazing, I felt the relationship that we had helped me with my relationship with Patti, with Danielle. And they always say it's much easier being a grandmother than a mother. And it definitely is.
Well, there's definitely an element of your character where you, a few years earlier could have been like Bridget Everett, but you've kind of aged out of that into a somewhat more Zen, Nana-like person who's able to kind of take in things without judging it as much. A bit more open-minded.
It might be the pain pills, too.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Nana's, she's like this old cranky lady who chain smokes, curses, raps, sits in a wheelchair, and they push her around. They have to take care of me because they live in my house, so they got to include me. So, I don't know. It was just one of the best experiences I've ever had.
I said, this is your first movie.
Yeah.
I was
First
just
one.
informed of this a minute ago. How did you get the part, and what was it like doing this for the? Because you have a lot to do. You're a big character in the movie, and your character is very broad and exuberant. So is that difficult?
Yeah, I think the broad and exuberant part was the easy bit for me. I think, the challenge was to find like the human Jerry, the guy who loves his best friend, and sort of having that balance work out a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible experience. Jeremy found me on World Star Hip Hop.
No way, really?
Yeah, and just sent me an email.
What was he doing on World Star Hip Hop?
Well, me and two of my friends, we make these spoof rap videos. These just like crazy, we've created this character, this ridiculous rapper who's always smoking Newports and doing Destiny's Child songs and just being absurd. Yeah, and we just do them for fun because we love it. And Jeremy randomly watched one, and he was just, he sent me an email being like, "Oh, you wanna send us a tape? Be in this movie?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Wow, what made you go through, your own sort of digging around the internet to find someone in the movie rather than,
I wasn't casting at that point, and I just, I'd always go check out World Star in the morning with my coffee, and I saw Sid on there performing this song, and I just, it was like, wow, this is the guy. I've been working on the film already for 2 years, so I got a little depressed that Jerry already existed in the world, and it was going to seem like I was biting this guy. And then we started to do some preliminary casting for the film, and nobody felt right. And anybody that was going to come in, I was just going to show them that video anyway and say, "Can you be this guy?" And so we decided, what the hell, we're going to reach out. And so, he was just the right, it just felt right.
Did you end up doing any chemistry reads between him and Danielle, or?
Yeah, we went to
sort
Utah.
of, yeah.
We got into this Robert Redford's Sundance Directors Lab. So these guys and Bridget, we went to Utah and we got to workshop it. Yeah, these scenes.
Absolutely. Mamoudou, you are your character is kind of an industrial punk. Really like a throwback, and I was telling you this in the green room, to like a certain brand of like 1990s rockers, sort of my brand of rock, to be honest with you.
Right. You mentioned Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, 9 Inch Nails, Skinny Puppy. We'll just throw them out here for people.
Plug it.
Where did you find inspiration for this character?
Well, Jeremy was huge. He introduced me to this New Jersey-based band called Horror, which is an experience, even on YouTube. Also, Aleister Crowley, which was insane. Yeah. I was like, what? Anyway, it blew my mind, and I was like, there's something in it. But like, other way. Yeah, so I think those two are very strong influences, and apparently veganism. So, yeah.
I love your character, and when he first shows up and he plays that song in the American Legion Hall, wherever
yeah,
and he's just saying, like, he's screaming "Wake up," right, or something like that.
Wake up, sheep.
Wake up, sheep. It's such a perfect distillation of like who this sort of like small town character would be on the outside. What drew you to sort of adding this element into the film?
I mean, I went through that phase when I was a teenager, or maybe even in my early 20s. I was somewhere between. It depended on the day. I was either Patty or Bastard, depending on my mood. So, and just like you, I went through the industrial kind of punk stuff was a big deal to me as a teenager, and it was in the suburbs. It was very anti-society in a way, and it opened new ideas up to me, and so.
And also really pissed off parents.
Yes, exactly. And so I had never really seen a suburban character that portrayed that the kind of mindset before, and I was kind of, And I grew up with a kid like Bastard, and I think everybody knows someone like that from suburbia, and so it just became like, I got excited about bringing them to life.
Now, I'm curious, with this film, it's obviously a piece about a working class neighborhood, a working class community, but I think unlike most stories of the working class, it's extremely diverse. Yeah. And, in the past couple years with the campaign, a lot of the rhetoric has been about working class communities, but really talking about them as if they are monolithic and you know, mostly white, which is not true. Yeah. Were you thinking about any of that when you decided to cast such a diverse group of actors and characters? Was any of that on your mind?
Not really. I mean, the characters just grew. One, you know, first came Patti, then Jerry, then Bastard, just kind of one after the next. I wasn't thinking of some larger worldview. You know, I grew up with, you know, around, diversity, I guess, in the suburbs, and like, I wanted to make a film that reflected my own experiences. So I didn't step outside of it and look at the climate. I was just like, these are the characters that I love and that I want to make a film about. Yeah.
Danielle, you have some pretty brutal scenes with Bridget Everett in terms of her judgment of you. And what was it like doing those scenes with her?
We met at the Sundance Directors Lab, and so we kind of got to workshop some scenes too. And I mean, this was Bridget's first dramatic role, and which was such a surprise to me because she was just really, really good. But I think she was almost like a little nervous going into it. And then that kind of almost like helped us bond in a way where we felt really safe around each other. And Geremy creates an atmosphere on set where you feel like you can fail and it's okay if you do, and you can just do it again. And I think even one of the scenes we shot that was a really tough scene, we were shooting and we just didn't quite feel like we were doing it the way we wanted to, I guess. There was just a vibe that was off, and we went to lunch and we were like, let's just do something different. And we went to Geremy and we're like, can we just try something different? And he's like, please. He just gives you that freedom, and we did something different, and it was right.
Can I ask what scene that was and what the different thing is that you did?
Yeah, it was the scene where we're in the kitchen and I find out about her music that she did.
Is that also the big
fight? It's the big fight. It's like the big
thing. It's an incredibly
yeah.
important scene in the
exactly.
film. Yeah.
And so we were like, we're not getting it. This is not good. And then we did get it. And I don't really know what changed. We just got out of our heads and got more aggressive.
Put some fangs on it. And,
yeah. She got like a little more, she was like baiting me. I was like, oh my gosh. No, it was great. I felt comfortable with Bridget from day one. I felt comfortable with this whole cast. We were all kind of stepping out of our comfort zone. You know, like we're all very different from our characters, and we're all doing things we've never done. I've never done music. Sid's never done acting. Geremy's never directed. Cathy was playing 20 years older. Mamoudou is literally the most opposite person you can imagine from his character. And I mean, Bridget is a comedic actress, so it was, you know, we were just able to kind of all band together nicely.
So you were really blown away by Aleister Crowley, I'm guessing, but based off of him bringing that up again with you.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, man.
That's the one thing that I said to you.
It was so strange.
Satanism was a new thing for you.
I was like, no. No. And I was like, okay. Yeah, so it's like, oh, Jesus.
Your character is extremely quiet for the majority of the movie, and he relies on like, you know, 1 or 2 words really per scene.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering if you were able to find the expressions, because he's also giving a lot off just based off of his expressions. If you found that in the makeup or, you know, in the jewelry that he's wearing, if there was something else that you thought you were doing.
Yeah, actually, the environment and the costumes certainly helped. Obviously, Geremy was, the biggest influence. But we had this amazing set designer, Meredith Lippincott, who created this shack. And it just informed so much about who this guy was. So it's like all you really need to do is breathe in the space, and like you kind of got it. And like there are certain things like, oh, of course he's reading Richard the Second right now, or like also, oh, he has a book on cooking for veganism. You know, it's like, oh, this is who this guy is, and you piece it together. And then the costume, Miyako Bellizzi, John Carter with the hair. Come on, like, that wasn't my hair at all. So they just. Well, John Carter just plugged in these hair clips, and I couldn't tell where my hair began and where that started. And I was like, this is insane. So a lot of things kind of helped, and I was like, okay. And Geremy was also the most influential in terms of just like, you know, helping me just like laser it into like a very, you know, get right in the pocket, I guess, of just like kind of calming it down, because whenever I'd get kind of acty, I'm like, well, I'm acting like a weirdo.
You know, like, I want to see that version of that character.
I'm like, well, I got this crazy eye. Yeah.
Industrial music.
Yeah.
Geremy, we talk about the music in the film, and mostly we talk about the raps and the beats, but there is this song tough love that becomes like a
So good.
so good. It becomes a wonderful through line, and you do an amazing job of straddling that line of like, sort of, it's Jersey rock at that time is really funny and Bon Jovi influenced, but it is also really emotional and means something for this woman and eventually her daughter. Did you write that song as well?
I did, yes. Yeah, I wrote that at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was asleep and my eyes popped open and I just had the tune in my head and I ran in and I recorded it into a tape recorder. Yeah.
Well, you go into a tape recorder where you're like, tough.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Really?
I have it. Yeah, I should dig it up. Yeah, it's just me doing. Yeah.
You should, you should find that and put that little bit on the soundtrack. Like introduce the song. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and then the next day I woke up and I always go back and listen to it and see if it sucks or if it's any good. And I was like, oh, this is all right. And figured out the chords and then started writing the song, which was super fun. I mean, I got into hip hop when I was 9, and that carried me. That was my first love. And then when I was in 7th grade, I got like really into hair metal. And it's such a guilty pleasure of mine. And just to have an excuse to like, you know, have a song with like a ripping guitar solo and tapping and like banshee vocals and bad drum sounds was a thrill for me. So yeah. And I grew up with a lot of, you know, just a few years older than me, like that were deep into the Jersey hair metal scene. That was like what was going on in the late 80s, yeah.
The first album my parents ever bought me was Poison's Flesh and Blood.
Oh, yeah. I had that one.
So I have that 8-year-old hair metal, and oddly, a really soft spot for it. This is the first feature you've ever directed, Geremy. You've made a lot of music videos before this. Yeah. You made a short film that Cathy was talking about with some incredible actors in it for a short film. What gave you the most fear going into directing your first feature? What were you most nervous about, or did you feel totally prepared?
No, I definitely did not feel prepared. I mean, we were making a record in pre-production. I felt always a little bit behind what I was supposed to be doing because I was wearing too many hats. And it was a very ragtag kind of small production. There was nothing fancy about what we were doing. We were just like a garage band doing it ourselves. But I was nervous about working with actors. You know, when you come from the music video world or even music, you don't actually get to direct a performance. You don't sculpt things. I was really nervous about that. I was nervous about technically how you shoot a scene, how you block a scene, all the stuff that you would learn in film school, which I didn't go to. So I was kind of learning on the fly in a sense, and that's why I think I was so open and collaborative, because I tried to surround myself with just the right people for the job.
Tell me what you would do in this scene.
Yeah, exactly. So how would you direct this? But yeah, you know, I think we did a great job of casting the film, and that's, I think, as a director, that's the biggest thing. If you can just kind of flow with where it's going and where it feels right. Also, this is about where I grew up, so I knew when something felt right or wrong. Like, it's just there was a frequency or a sensation that just, if it felt like my youth, then I knew we were on the right road. So I was always trying to kind of tap into that sensation. But yeah, just directing was nerve-wracking and exhausting.
Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has a question?
Hey. So I grew up in the suburbs of New Jersey. I was wondering how much of the film was shot in location, and what was it like working, and did you get to work with any of the people in the neighborhood?
Yes. Does anybody else want to answer this? I've been talking. Okay. We shot all the exteriors in Jersey. Jersey, unfortunately, does not give little films like ours a tax break. So we had to shoot, I think, 70% in New York State, which was such a pain. So I was constantly trying, we were going to Yonkers and Staten Island and Queens and trying to find places that felt like Jersey. We could have shot the whole thing in 2 towns in Jersey, but instead we were racing around, and it's a kind of big pain. But yeah, Jersey's got to get it together, because I mean, it's like, how against the arts can this state be? And then, what was the second part of the question there?
Did you get to cast sort of local?
Oh yeah. I would grab people off the street. I mean, that was the cool thing about the film. It was like this really incredible mix of people who had never acted before, like up and coming rappers just like local douchebags. It was like a real interesting, Hollywood legends.
Was the guy in the film that is a kind of I wouldn't want to say the villain, that's overstating it. Is his name Chris? Is the character's name Danny? Was he a local guy or is he an actor?
No, he's an actor.
He's a young Hollywood.
He looks like the local D-bag heartthrob. The guy that you're like, yeah. But he's as different from that character as possible.
He's the sweetest. Yeah. Yeah, like he had to say some really mean things to me, and he was like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Let's get the next question.
Hi, how are you? Hi. My question is there something from the film that you're going to take with you when you do future work?
Good question.
Danielle?
I'll answer this. I think, I just want to work with, this cast and director all the time. But, certainly it's like the standard now, working with the type of people that just want to, make something really great and special. It feels like a Hallmark Christmas special. I'm saying, but it's true.
You really are not your character at all.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, guys, I love everyone. Yeah. Just working with this caliber of people, I think is a really important thing for me to continue doing. Yeah, and not settle for anything less.
I was really out of my comfort zone doing this because I'm really different than this character. So the thing that I had to do was find a way that I could be as comfortable as I could be while being really uncomfortable, basically. So I just kind of spoke a lot and was just very vocal and honest about things up front. And I would like to continue doing that because I think it really helped open a dialogue and conversation with me and Geremy. We work together very easily. It helps when the other person is as well. Same with Mamoudou and Sid and Cathy. It was very easy when you can just be like, okay, let's just get all the awkwardness out of the way right now and just go. So I would like to keep doing that, yeah.
Do you find that that's a rarity on sets?
I think maybe I've just been a little nervous before to do it, but because I was so preoccupied being terrified about what I had to do, I was like, well, screw that. I'm just gonna get everything else out of the way that I need to so that I can at least feel like I'm in a safe space. And everyone made it a safe space completely. The entire crew was incredible and amazing and respectful and just did their jobs perfectly. Because, movie making is a team sport. It really is. It doesn't happen without everyone involved. And everyone did such an awesome job on this set.
I can't imagine someone pulling off the performance that you pull off in this movie without having a fairly safe creative space around you.
Yeah, it was all the people around me. Because you can't open yourself up unless you have that kind of vibe on set. And Geremy kept a really, really good vibe on set. He did.
Kumbaya.
No freakouts?
Internally,
we weren't privy to the freak. I think he wouldn't show
There
us
wasn't.
when he
No,
freaked
there were
out.
no
Even if he
freakouts.
did, I feel like he
I
would
was around
go away somewhere.
constantly.
I cried in my car every break that we had.
I cried in the bathroom, so we're all good.
I think we have time for one more question. Back here.
Hi, my question is, who's your favorite rapper?
I'll start. I'm Biggie. Oh.
Andre 3000 for me.
Oh my God.
Q-Tip.
50 Cent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's hard. Every day it's one of the new ones.
Cathy's favorite rapper is?
Remember, I'm old. Eminem.
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 Right, there it is. Guys, Patti Cake opens this Friday, right? It's an absolutely wonderful movie. Everybody go see it. You're going to cry. You're going to stand up and cheer at the end of it. Incredible performances all around. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.